A Plaguelands Media production.
Hey everyone, Hugh from Plaguelands Media here, bringing you another part of our multi-epic, The Death and Return of Superman Omnibus. Now, this is a really exciting one because we are going to learn in the next part who the villain of the piece is. And I kid you not, I think I fucking say that 3 or 4 times in this video. So we're just going to get straight into the next episode of... So we continue the reign of the Superman story with Guy Gardner. He is reading News Time, kind of a bit confused why there are now 4 Supermen when Superman died. So he's basically just stolen a magazine from a newsstand and he's sitting there reading it, kind of reminiscing on why, or like what happened when Superman fought Doomsday and took out the Justice League. And at the same time, we have a gentleman who is trying to break into the Metropolis Mercantile Bank. He meets Eradicator. He kind of begs Eradicator, you know, I haven't killed anyone, I'm not doing anything, please don't hurt me. But Eradicator hurts him anyway, and he ends up in hospital, where Lois Lane comes only to discover that every bone in this man's arms, his hands up to his elbows, has been crushed. So this gives her the idea that Eradicator is using excessive force. She meets Cat Grant, and they kind of talk about the different Supermen. She explains why she's at the hospital. And they see Superboy being interviewed by Tanner Moon, the reporter that he kind of followed in the issue previously, where he was kind of front and center. And as Lois is leaving the hospital, she sees a silhouette that resembles Clark, but it turns out that it isn't Clark, and she's thinking, like, I'm going crazy, I'm kind of seeing him everywhere. At this point, Eradicator goes back to the fortress. He needs to kind of charge up. And so the robots kind of explain what is going on and what is happening. We cut to Metropolis PD, where the head of the Metropolis Police Department has quit in disgrace, and someone else has taken over his spot, and he calls in Maggie, who is head of the superhero crime division, and he says, listen, we've got a problem. You're only a captain, but, you know, there are people who are working for you, like Dick Turpin, who might be uncomfortable with being given orders by someone of a lower rank. She explains to him that, you know, this hasn't been a problem in the past and they've been really supportive. And he's like, no, it's a problem with me. So you're getting a promotion. And he promotes her to inspector and charges her with finding out who these 4 Supermen actually are. At this point, Guy Gardner has it in his head that he's going to go and take down each of these 4 Supermen. He believes that they are imposters, even though he and Superman never really saw eye to eye and kind of got off on the wrong foot. He still feels that these people are doing a disservice to the Superman name. So he creates a kind of a diversion for Eradicator. Eradicator is flying past this disused gas station and he sees some bikes there, so he's wondering what's going on. He's going to go down and check it out, but then there's an explosion. So he hurries over to where the explosion is, only it's not. It was an illusion created by Guy Gardner, and Guy Gardner is prepared to beat the shit out of him. As we all know, Guy Gardner is all mouth, one of the worst Green Lanterns there ever was, kind of like the Jason Todd of the Green Lanterns. In the New 52, he did have his moments, I will admit, when he became a Red Lantern. That was pretty cool. So he and Eradicator start to fight. Eradicator at first doesn't quite understand why Guy Gardner keeps kind of pushing him, and eventually Eradicator just throws him where he happens to land at the gas station where the bikes were. So Eradicator now has an excuse to go down there while at the same time fighting Guy Gardner. Turns out that there was criminal activity there. Guy Gardner realizes what Eradicator did, that he threw him there on purpose. And he's like, you know what? You're a fucking badass Superman. Maybe you are the real deal. This is kind of cool. I'm sorry. I should never have attacked you. I'm going to cross you off the list. I'm going to go after the other three. And Eradicator's like, don't go after the other three. And then he flies away. The news crews come to the gas station where the criminals were, and Guy Gardner gives all the credit to Eradicator for stopping them. And then Eradicator, seeing this on television, realizes, holy shit, if Guy Gardner is endorsing me, I'm clearly doing something wrong as Superman. Maybe I should tone it down a bit, which I thought was really, really funny. Then we move on to Superman Man of Steel number 23, where we are going to obviously see Steel meeting Superboy. So what we have is some gang members with the Toastmaster guns that John Henry Irons actually invented, and they are pretty much filming themselves because they are getting ready to ambush Steel. They've lured him into an alley, but Steel is not having it, and he jumps down and kind of gets the drop on them. And he starts kind of beating the shit out of everyone. Manages to get the camera from the cameraman as proof of what they were doing. Typical idiots recording their crime, which is really funny to me because you actually see this a lot nowadays with morons on social media thinking they can commit crimes and post it to social media and they'll get a ton of likes. Same sort of thing here. So the police get a hold of this, but so does Lex Luthor. Now, Lex Luthor wants to not only flush out the White Rabbit, but also he's got this plan to get at least one of these for Superman working for him. If he can control a Superman, he can further his stranglehold on Metropolis. The White Rabbit is in her hotel. She basically does nothing to hide where she is. She wants these people to come to her. She's got this little sycophant guy who I've never heard of, but you'll see more about him later. There's a fight in the Daily Planet over who is the real Superman, and Lois is like, can you guys just calm the fuck down, please? Jeb comes. Jimmy Olsen doesn't like the fact that Jeb is getting so close to Lois. At this point, we now realize that Jeb wants her, and now that Clark is gone, he is going to make his move. This guy is as sleazy as they come. He's got his hair in a fucking ponytail, for crying out loud. No offense to gentlemen today that wear their hair in ponytails, but this was the 90s, and this was the sign of a fuckwit, in my opinion. There is a fight down at the waterfront, to which Lois kind of hurries. It turns out Superboy is there. He basically, the news chopper, the GBS news chopper, is kind of following him because they're endorsing him. The criminals let fire. He kind of doesn't care, and he doesn't realize that Lois Lane's Daily Planet chopper is behind him and that it explodes, killing the pilot. Lois Lane manages to get to safety, where she is saved by Steel. They have a quick little chat, and then while Superboy is kind of basking in the accolades of just having taken out these guys with the Toastmaster guns, Steel grabs him and drags him to the top of the building and says, listen, you have to be aware of your fucking surroundings. You do realize that someone died. Lois Lane could have died, all because you were showboating. Stop being a little dickhole. Superboy kind of realizes, did I do something wrong? For the first time now, he's kind of getting this idea that there's more to being a hero than just having powers. Lois Lane sees the confrontation up there, and one of Lex Luthor's men, one of Lex Luthor's men, one of Lex Luthor's men come. They tell Steel that Lex Luthor has information on where the White Rabbit is. Steel goes to Lex, gets the information. Lex Luthor is like, you've got to join me. Steel's like, fuck off. And he goes off to find the White Rabbit. The White Rabbit is in her hotel room waiting for him. And at this point, we find out that the White Rabbit and John Henry Irons know each other. In fact, they were former lovers, and they did actually work together on the weapons project for the Toastmaster guns until he realized what they were going to be used for. She kind of betrays him, and that is why he kind of quit and went into hiding. It's also why he's wanted by the FBI at this point. She tells him that not only did she get the weapon schematics from his computer, but she altered them a bit as well, so that the guns were more efficient. And she takes one and shoots him with it. At this point, Superboy, kind of flying by, sees him hit the tanker truck, gets him out of there as the tanker truck catches on fire, and we can see now that he is definitely vulnerable to fire. Whereas Steel is like, thank you for the save, but my armor would have protected me anyway. And they go back to the hotel room because he had actually Superboy had seen the White Rabbit shoot him. They go back to the hotel room, but by this point, she's gone. And Lex sends sends Supergirl out to find Superman's clone, aka Superboy. Okay, now we have one of the best covers I remember seeing as in the news agency. I just thought this cover was absolutely phenomenal. Now, this is a really interesting issue because it's not written like a comic book. It's actually written like a news article. So we have this guy here who, now that Clark Kent has died, he wants Clark Kent's job. Sorry, I need my yum yum juice. A lot of talking today. He wants Clark Kent's job. So he starts writing this article about people who don't have to prove that they are heroes. And it all starts with him, because he was a friend of Clark Kent, of course, working at the Daily Planet. So we have him, Jimmy Olsen, Jonathan Kent and Martha Kent, Lois Lane, Perry White, and they're basically packing up Clark Kent's apartment. And at this point, he goes to Perry White, and he says, there's a job available. Can I have it? And Perry White says, listen, a young reporter called Clark Kent came to me back in the day, and I told him the same thing I'm going to tell you. Get me a story that I cannot ignore, and then you can have the job. Of course, Clark Kent's story was an interview with Superman, which I think is hilariously fraudulent because he was Superman, but you do what you got to do, I guess. So this kid thinks about what would Clark Kent do in this situation. And he ponders, the 4 different Superman, and eventually he decides that he is going to try and get an interview with Maxwell Lord. Maxwell Lord at this point is working for the Justice League. Now, those of you that are not familiar with who Maxwell Lord is, he was one of the main villains in the not very good Wonder Woman 1984. But in the comic books, he becomes a pretty badass villain. I think he's also a villain in the Supergirl TV show in the 1st or 2nd season. In the comic books, he becomes a pretty badass villain. And ultimately, just before the Identity Crisis... No, it wasn't Identity Crisis. One of the Crisis events that... I'm going to go completely off tangent here. I apologize for that. But before one of the Crisis events, Maxwell Lord was controlling Superman. And Wonder Woman used her lasso of truth and asked him, how do I stop you controlling Superman? And Maxwell Lord said, the only way you can do it is to kill me. And so Wonder Woman snaps his neck. But the whole thing is caught on camera, which leads to Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman disbanding the Justice League, which leads into the fantastic series called 52, which was a weekly series, 1 issue a week for an entire year. That was just phenomenal. And then all the comics picked up 1 year later. At this point, though, Maxwell Lord is just kind of a lackey for the Justice League, and he's going to the White House. So this kid decides to kind of hang out there and try to get an interview with Maxwell Lord. When Lord's limousine pulls up, the kid talks to him, but at that point, a van smashes into the back of it, and terrorists from, I'm going to pronounce this wrong, Karak, get out, and they start attacking the White House. At this point, Cyborg Superman flies down and takes out the terrorists. The kid gets Maxwell Lord to safety inside of the White House. Cyborg Superman, of course, just kicks absolute ass here. And it's posted all over the news. However, the White House has automated protection systems like weapon systems, and they now see Cyborg Superman as a threat, so they start attacking him. And the only way, because people know that Cyborg Superman has Superman's DNA by this point, the only way is if someone can go out there and scan Cyborg Superman's DNA, so that the weapon systems will stop doing it. The kid decides he'll do it. He runs out there, manages to get the scan, and the weapon systems shut down. Cyborg Superman comes in, tells the White House he needs to integrate with their computers to get information, which he does. And he starts to learn basically all the secrets that the White House, Pentagon, CIA, America, and all of that have. Maxwell Lord has a briefcase. It's discovered that the driver of Maxwell Lord's limousine was actually killed, and they put a terrorist in his place. They also planted a bomb in a briefcase and switched them out. Cyborg Superman melts the briefcase, thus stopping the bomb. He gives the president at the time, Mr. Bill Clinton, a communication device and says, if you need me, I'll be there. And at this point, this is the end of the article that the kid has written. So basically, the whole first part of this issue is a news story that this kid is going to turn into Perry White to try and get a job at the Daily Planet. Perry White wakes him up. He's been working at his computer, says, this story is great. You were there on the front lines. You reported it very well. You've got the job. And then we have a mock-up of the front page of the Daily Planet. Superman is back. And we see him with a picture of him shaking, and then Bill Clinton's hand, and then this is the actual article that we just read. Now, as far as comic books go, I really enjoyed this one purely because it was different. Purely because you are not reading, narrative and dialogue, but it was just something different to kind of highlight this adventure, I guess, that Cyborg Superman kind of had, and that this kid had. They could just have easily have written this as a typical comic book with all the action and everything, but I think it just worked really, really well in this case. Okay, boy meets girl. So we have Tanner Moon reporting as Superboy is saving some people that are about to fall off a bridge. He's, of course, joking around as he does this. And as Lex Luthor had sent Supergirl out to find Superboy, it's very obvious that he is there. So she comes there and she kind of shows him up, puts the car down. Superboy's explaining, listen, I was just joking around, or in this case, looking right at her breasts, he says, oh, I was chest choking. I mean, just joking. I have no words for that, but there you go. Supergirl invites Superboy to dinner at Lex Luthor's place, and Tanner Moon makes some, comments like about where he was looking. So we have the news, and this is the Stinger. The Stinger has been hired by this man to basically get Superboy. Why? We don't know yet. But the Stinger expects his payment in full or he will be back. Now, Bibbo, who, if you might remember, rescued the dog from the sack of dead puppies. Yep, that's still a thing. Goes to get a collar made for the dog, and he wanted Krypton written on it because he named the dog Krypton, but 6 letters maximum, and the guy puts crypto on the collar. As you might remember from my Superman Doom, crypto is Superman's super dog. Bibbo gets angry and just punches him in the face, as you do. Superboy comes to Lex Luthor's apartment for dinner. Supergirl, dressed very provocatively, of course, and they talk about Superboy working exclusively with Lex Luthor. Superboy says, this news station has given me a good deal. Lex Luthor says, I can give you a better one. Supergirl says, plus we would be working together all the time. Superboy is like, oh, fuck yeah. All right. Good. Sign up the contracts. She kisses him on the cheek, and off he flies. He goes to the news station to tell them about the Lex Luthor contract, and they tell him that Rex Leach is going to be his new publicity manager, and Rex Leach introduces him to the daughter, or Rex's daughter, Roxy, who is a huge fan apparently and fawns over him. And he basically signs a contract so that Rex Leach is his manager, thus null and voiding whatever they agreed with Lex and Supergirl. He is moving a train to a science museum when the train is, he is attacked. The harness that is helping him with the train explodes, and we know that this is going to be the Stinger. Now, you might remember, this guy was the guy that hired the Stinger to come after Superboy. So we now get the idea that Vinny and Rex have set this whole thing up so that Superboy will definitely kind of sign Rex on as his publicity manager. He manages to catch the train before it's destroyed. At this point, he's looking for the Stinger. The Stinger appears behind him, starts choking him. They fight, but the Stinger kind of has the upper hand in the battle. Now, who is the Stinger? This is the Stinger's first appearance, so I have no idea. I do think... I know that he becomes one of Superboy's nemesis, and I think he does actually join the Suicide Squad at some point, but I'm not too sure about who the character is. He's actually a pretty dumb character, if you ask me. In Bibbo's restaurant, everyone's fighting over who is the real Superman. Bibbo and Krypto calm everyone down. At this point, the Stinger electrocutes Superboy, and as they are reporting on it, Supergirl comes in to fight the Stinger as well, and Superboy is a little pissed off by this, but the Stinger is like, hey, I only signed on to fight Superboy, didn't sign on to fight Supergirl as well, so he ends up blowing up the bridge, and the bridge starts to collapse, and at this point, an alien spacecraft appears over the Earth, bringing an ominous threat. Dun, dun, dun. Need some yum yum juice. Oh, that's good yum yum. Okay. Who watches the Superman? Tanner Moon is reporting on the bridge collapse. As you can see, a lot of the bridge has been destroyed. Superboy and Supergirl were trapped in the rubble, but they managed to escape. They start trying to save people. They go down, they find some people that are still alive in their cars, but ultimately the death toll, I believe, is 12. So the Stinger is responsible now for killing 12 people in this bridge collapse. Back at the Fortress of Solitude, in the egg, whatever's inside of this egg, the body of Superman that Eradicator was getting its power from, wakes up, and we see that Superman is alive and well. Now, I have a problem with this, and the problem is a very, very simple one. This reveal should have been an end-of-issue reveal. Like, this is the big thing. But it just happens kind of at the beginning of an issue with no real fanfare. I mean, this is Superman coming back from the dead, literally, and it's just kind of tossed in there. I don't know. I had a problem with this. He sees the four Superman, and he gets pissed off that they are basically using his name. He's not a franchise. He's fucking Superman, for crying out loud. Back at the bridge, Tanner Moon is reporting, and at this point, Superboy tells Supergirl that the deal with Lex Luthor is off. Supergirl goes back and tells Lex. Lex is naturally pissed off. At this point, Jonathan Kent, who is like still recovering from his heart attack, doesn't understand how Supergirl can work for Lex Luthor when she had actually stayed with them at some point and they had kind of treated her like their own daughter. And he's just kind of disappointed by that. Steel is fighting off some bad guys. The Eradicator comes down. And Steel and the Eradicator start to fight. Only because the Eradicator is like a hot-headed piece of shit. Steel tries to be the voice of reason. Jimmy confronts Lois at a diner and just says, listen, I'm worried about you. If you need anything, let me know. And they hear that there is a fight between Eradicator and Steel, so they hurry down there. The fight is pretty brutal. Eradicator, although, is holding back against Steel because we've seen the powers that the Eradicator has. He could easily take Steel out. And Lois Lane ends up stepping in and basically saying, you guys have got to calm the fuck down. Eradicator realizes he's kind of crossed a line. And Steel also kind of apologizes. At this point, a lawyer comes, a lawyer working for Rex Leach, and says the two of you need to stop using Superman's image and likeness. We have the legal rights to the S and the cape. Eradicator is going to kill the lawyer. Steel drags him away. Eradicator ends up flying Steel up into space. Steel can't handle that. His armor isn't actually meant to be in the atmosphere like that. And at this point, we see who is in the ship watching, and we get an idea of who the villain might be. I am not going to give it away at this point. Mongol. Steel starts falling to Earth when he is caught by the Eradicator, and the Eradicator slams him down into the Earth and making a giant crater. Eradicator and Steel are going at it again. Steel is like, I was just trying to calm you the fuck down. Why did you do that? And Eradicator is, fuck you. So we get another brutal fight with some amazing splash pages here. And ultimately, Steel ends up hitting him so hard he loses his visor. Now we know that Eradicator can't really handle bright light, so he has to kind of leave the battle. At this point, we have the White Rabbit again, who is using the Toastmaster guns to take over Metropolis. Lex Luthor has discovered Steel's identity as John Henry Irons, and he wants to use him. Lois comes back to the Daily Planet, sees someone who resembles Clark sitting at his desk, but it is just the kid who wrote the article. Lois is a little upset by this because she feels that Clark is being replaced too soon, even though she knows that Superman is dead. Clark Kent is dead. So Lex Luthor here offers Steel a ride back to Metropolis in his helicopter, so he's kind of just like resting, and Lex discovers that the White Rabbit is in his office. They talk. She basically tries to blackmail him. He tries to threaten her. Now, the whole point of Lex offering Steel a ride back is because he's going to use the White Rabbit to take Steel out. So when the plane lands back at Metropolis, the White Rabbit gets everyone to open fire. Steel manages to save the pilot, gets out there and starts basically smacking the crap out of people. At this point, the White Rabbit gets her lackey to do his thing, and the kid turns into like a giant fat thing and lands on Steel, who uses his rocket boots. I have no words for this. I just don't fucking know. Steel grabs the White Rabbit and fucks off. The White Rabbit takes him to her weapons or factory where she's making the guns. But it's basically a trick, and she tries to kill Steel. Ultimately, it doesn't work. The ceiling collapses and the weapons factory explodes, possibly killing the White Rabbit, but death in comics, who the fuck knows? At this point, the ship, Mongol ship, is getting closer and closer to Earth. Lex Luthor, of course, still pissed off, but what can you do? Okay. Things are booming in Coast City. Coast City, of course, being the home of Hal Jordan, the greatest of the Green Lanterns. Although, in my opinion, my favorite Green Lantern is Kyle Rayner, but that is just me. So Lex is still kind of going on and on about who these 4 Supermen are, while the ship gets closer to Earth and is picked up on Lex Corp satellites. The Eradicator is kind of helping people now. He's being more heroic. Cyborg Superman gets a call from the White House on the communicator that he gave President Clinton, and the White House tell him that there's something coming in Coast City, and the alien ship appears over Coast City and drops a whole lot of carnage balls, or whatever they're called. Eradicator is there. Cyborg Superman comes down and basically just blows the shit out of Eradicator. They start to fight as these carnage balls start exploding. Cyborg Superman has the upper hand, and he is just decimating Eradicator. And while that is going on, Coast City is utterly destroyed. Millions and millions and millions of people are wiped out by this alien spacecraft. Eradicator is so badly damaged that he reverts back to his energy form, and he has to hobble back to the Fortress of Solitude. At the same time, the alien ship starts to create structures where Coast City used to be. The alien force manages to get back, the Eradicator force manages to get back to Antarctica. Cyborg Superman flies up to the alien ship to confront the whoever it is in there. He is lying to the Pentagon and the White House about what happened. And we learn that Cyborg Superman is the villain of the piece, being aided, of course, by Mongol. Mongol, you might remember, was trapped in the Phantom Zone in the Superman Doomed New 52 that I did a review of earlier. One of Superman's early villains, first appeared in November of 1980. Okay, this does not look good. This does not bode well for anybody. So, Cyborg Superman flying over the remains of Coast City. There is a lot of ash and smoke and dust, so satellites can't actually see exactly what is happening, but he's giving false reports to the White House as to what is going on. He finds some survivors, which he ultimately kills and tells the White House it was just stray animals that were wounded, so I had to put them out of their misery. At this point, Tanner wants to go there, but her boss says no. Roxy and Superboy are playing a video game based on the death of Superman, which is kind of stupid. Tanner Moon comes, takes Superboy away. Roxy's like, what the fuck? And her father's like, don't worry, he'll be back. Just be patient. He's our meal ticket. Tanner tells Superboy what has happened, and basically tells him to be careful. They have a little moment, which I think is kind of cute, where she tells him, listen, we're just friends, but you're my only friend, so please be careful. At this point, there is a mysterious object that has crashed to Earth that is just kind of walking towards civilization. We don't know what it is, or could it be Superman in a Kryptonian battle tank suit? Cyborg, Superman, and Superboy team up. Cyborg Superman, of course, saying that everything's going to be fine now that Superboy's here. Doesn't call him Superboy, of course. And they head into the area of Coast City that has been destroyed, followed by a helicopter, which Cyborg Superman promptly destroys. Superboy is like, why the fuck did you do that? Cyborg Superman turns on him. They fight, basically, another brutal fight where Cyborg Superman has the upper hand. Superboy, of course, vulnerable to fire, caught off guard. He and Cyborg Superman continue to fight. Superboy realizes that he's not going to win this. He can't get the upper hand. And then we go and we see Mongol on the ship. And he's kind of witnessing Cyborg Superman and Superboy fighting. Superboy tries to escape, manages to somewhat get away, but Cyborg Superman chases him down, finds him, and then we get this brutal smashing in the face, followed by like black with blood there. We don't exactly know what has happened. Then we move into total eradication. The cult of the Superman that has been gathering outside of Superman's tomb has split into two factions. One faction following Cyborg Superman, one faction following the Eradicator, believing each of them to be the real Superman. The Cyborg Superman cult have their faces kind of painted, very similar to Cyborg Superman. The Eradicator cult were wearing the shades. The Metropolis police, the superhero crime unit, go there, and they manage to disperse the crowd, getting them out of the way. At this point, Cyborg Superman is torturing Superboy. Superboy, of course, mocking Mongol. Mongol wants to kill him. Cyborg Superman says no. If he is a clone of Superman, we need him around. However, Superboy cannot escape. They are looking at the structures that are being created over Coast City, where Coast City used to be. They call it Engine City. Superboy hears their ultimate plans. The Eradicator manages to get back to the Fortress of Solitude. He is very, very wounded. When he gets back there, the robots, the Kryptonian robots, tell him that the body that was in the regeneration matrix has left. He's like, why did you open it? And they're like, we fucking didn't, you asshole. Come on, what do you think we are? At this point, the battle suit is moving closer and closer. Lois Lane goes to see the new inspector and basically is kind of trying to work out, what the fuck is going on in Coast City, what is going on all over the place. At this point, Cyborg Superman has created some false video that he sends out where Superboy and he appear to be friends. It is a plea to the Justice League. So now we get the Justice League with Green Lantern, Jade, Martian Manhunter, Maxima, Wonder Woman, Guy Gardner, Shazam. I believe that's Dr. Fate. So we know that Cyborg Superman can create false videos and create false kind of recordings. So they believe that they are actually talking to Cyborg Superman and Superboy. And they tell them, as the world believes, that Coast City's destruction was the fault of the Eradicator. The Eradicator has now gone into space. We need you to go and find them. Guy Gardner doesn't believe any of this fucking bullshit at this point. He's like, wait a minute. I know the Eradicator. The Eradicator would never do something like this. But they ultimately agree to go off into space to look for the Eradicator. Superboy is taunting Mongol and Cyborg Superman, as he is wont to do because he is a cocky little shit, while trying to escape. At this point, the robots need to explain to the Eradicator that he is not actually Superman. And this is where we get a bit of a backstory for the Eradicator. The Eradicator was a villain that Superman fought. He was created on the planet Krypton. Superman basically, he was basically energy, and Superman destroyed him, and he went into the walls of the Fortress of Solitude, where he remained until the death of Superman, when he manages to free himself, and that is how we get him thinking that he is actually Superman, and at this point he realizes that he is not. But he did take up the mantle of Superman. I think this idea is very interesting. I'd never heard of the Eradicator before. But there you go. The battlesuit continuing on. And inside we see Superman. We find out that at this point Superman can't actually see or hear anything. The suit is just fully automated. We get this fantastic cover where Superboy is lamenting his problems. We see what has become of Coast City. Lex Luthor is being told that there is something of Kryptonian origin coming towards them. Steel is still doing his thing, taking out thugs and gang members, not knowing what he can do with Coast City. At this point, Superboy realizes that Mongol and Cyborg Superman are going to do to Metropolis what they did to Coast City. So he manages to escape and break free. Lois Lane and Jeb are having drinks. They are kind of talking about what's going on. Lois is pondering Cyborg Superman. Is he really Superman? As far as the world knows, he's the good guy in all of this, and the Eradicator is the bad guy. Jeb walks her to her apartment where he says, you know, it's early, I can come in for a nightcap. She says no, but she kisses him anyway because she's a dirty, dirty slut. And then she laments what she did. She goes into the office where Jeb has left her a dozen roses. And she says to Perry White, I need to go to Coast City. I need to find out what's going on. Perry White says, like hell you do. She's like, yeah, I'm going. I don't fucking care. Supergirl goes down and tells Lex the same thing. Lex is like, you don't have to do this. She's like, yes, I do. At this point, the War Machine, the Kryptonian kind of battle tank thing, is in the ocean. Lex's submarine is there as Supergirl sees the submarine drop a charge on it. What ultimately happens is that the submarine gets crushed by rocks. Supergirl is like, that thing is a fucking menace. I've got to go fight it. At this point, Lois is heading to Coast City. Steel says, can I get a ride? And just as that happens, the War Machine comes out of the Metropolis harbor. So it was on its way to Metropolis all along. Supergirl is there. Supergirl starts to fight this thing. Steel jumps into the fight. Superboy comes. He's hobbled back from Coast City to Metropolis. He sees what's going on. And so they have a coordinated attack where they're all going to try and take down this Kryptonian battle armor. They end up smashing it, Steel with his hammer, Supergirl, Superboy, and it cracks open, and a figure emerges, and it is Superman. And he's going to save Metropolis. Nothing is going to stop it, he says, over his dead body. That is where we are going to leave this part of the death and return of Superman. Now, this was really cool. I like that the villain of the piece has been unmasked. I like that the heroes, there was kind of, it's always good when two heroes fight in a comic. It's always fun. I mean, just look at the movie Captain America Civil War. The airport scene was a fucking masterpiece. But now we have the return of Superman in such a dramatic fashion. I just wish that when he was coming out of the regeneration matrix, maybe it could have been a little more epic, but that's just me. So we are going to leave it here for today. And in our next video, we will probably finish the story. So, hope you enjoyed it. If you did, like, subscribe, leave a comment, click the notification bell, and that'll tell you when I upload new shit. But until then, have a fantastic rest of your day, stay safe, and please, 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 could you read a fucking book, people?